Evening, gentlemen. For the first game in our series, Road to World Champion, Alexander Alekhine, we'll be looking at one of his early games. By the age of 16, he had established himself as one of Russia's top players, and in January 1914, he won his first major Russian tournament when he tied for first place with Nimzowitsch in St Petersburg. So we'll be looking at his win over Nimzowitsch with the white pieces.
Alright, this is the Open Roy Lopez, which was later championed by Kasparov, and we can reach this position by a standard king's pawn opening, which has been seen many millions of times before. Then I have 6 in castles. Here black decides to take this pawn, which might cause the e-file to open up, so it is somewhat risky, and black is not planning on keeping this pawn so much. White immediately responds by trying to open the center. Black throws in the intermissio, attacking this bishop, and d5 here. An attempt by black to stay a pawn up by taking this is interesting, but we see that he immediately has some problems. Although this does appear somewhat playable after a fun move, knight c3 and bishop e6. Obviously taking this knight is not possible. For example, in this way, and this double check, and white is winning easily. So d5. This is the starting position for the Open Roy Lopez, where c3 is now played to preserve the bishop from an eventual knight c5. It will be able to move to c2. This move, bishop c5, is often seen from black. However, he decided to play to e7 in this game. Nimzowitsch did. So knight b2, knight c5. And as both sides endeavor to get their pieces off the back rank, and this chess game can actually begin.
Yeah, and play continued with knight b3, which is by far the most popular move in this position at this point, playing against the dark squares in the center. An alternative move would be knight f1, planning on playing it to g3 or to e3, with also some active plans. That being said, we get knight b3, and black replied with knight e4, which is a move which has fallen out of favor nowadays, in favor of knight e6, which is potentially more secure. As we'll see on e4, it might be a little loose. That being said, you can't take it outright, hoping to cash out on a pawn, because after a queen trade and grabbing the pawn, we'll see that rook d1 is not mate, but white is getting seriously clowned upon here. The bishop f5, maybe rook e2. Get rook d3. The rook is not trapped, but this is seriously unpleasant for white. Not worth a pawn. So instead, after knight e4, play continues with bishop f4.
At this point, white's advantage lies in the fact his opponent's position is rather loose, with a lot of pawn holes strewn throughout, and this isolated d-pawn in particular. Well, it's not isolated, but it is certainly slightly weak at the moment. So, with this in mind, Nimzowitsch decides to try and create a stronghold at e4. This does have the drawback of sort of compounding his pawn weaknesses. So a decent alternative was simply to play queen d7, and after h3 and bishop f5 and then a4, white is going to continue to try and poke at black's holes, with a possible attempt from black being to capture it and take it from there. But Nimzowitsch preferred somewhat more active and more committal ideas with f5. So, alright, simple burr.
Indeed, this undefends the d-pawn, which Alekhine immediately exploits by playing bishop takes c7, snapping up a free pawn. Nimzowitsch hopes to retain his d-pawn and his knight on e4, and therefore plays queen d7. Follows the intermediary knight e5, and after a knight exchange, we can see that Alekhine is up a clean pawn. Here the bishop comes back. There's potential pressure on f2, but we can see that this is completely illusory. The bishop takes, h takes. Rook takes f2 would run into rook takes e4. Now play continues with some old-fashioned engine tomfoolery. We're going to see bishop f5, queen e2, bishop g4, queen d3. And for you tacticians out there, it's interesting to note that f3 here would not have worked as an alternative, because you have the intermediary, knight takes g3. Queen e5 still trying to win a piece, runs to bishop f5, and after knight c5, sorry, and queen c6, you can see that there is no way to force win a piece. And so queen d3 was elected instead, threatening some nasty discoveries. Now play continues with some old-fashioned engine tomfoolery. We're going to see bishop f5, queen e2, bishop g4, queen d3, bishop f5 again. Naturally, Alekhine doesn't accept the draw and plays queen d4. But interesting enough for you history aficionados, in his memoirs and his great games, he doesn't record the repetition of moves here. So there's a little debate over whether these actually happened, but we're not going to get into that.
Now at this point Alekhine decided to play knight d2, and thus tempting Nimzowitsch to give 2 pieces for a rook. But it appears that bishop d3 is a slight improvement according to Clownfish, since after bishop g4, rook a1, bishop f5, white will start play on the queen side, and if black tries rook b8, then rook b4 will send him back, which is definitely some prime Clownfish right there. However, after knight d2, Nimzowitsch decided to give his 2 pieces for a rook and pawn, which lands us in this position. And after bishop e6, king h8, and bishop takes d5, we have rook ac8.
Yep, so play continues with queen h4, and Alekhine pursues his play in the center. Nimzowitsch here comes with a beautiful rook lift, rook c6. After queen f2, we see that Nimzowitsch makes a pretty big blunder according to Leela, queen h5. This allows queen f3, essentially forcing a queen trade. After queen takes, g takes. We see g6 getting out of back rank problems. Rook d2 getting onto a better rank. Rook b6 getting out of the issues. King gets active.
Now we get to admire the would-be champion's technique here. After c6, king g7, he found the beautiful bishop c4, wresting control of the d-file. Since rook c8 is not exactly an improvement, because of rook d7, king h6, and then bishop e5, Nimzowitsch decided to get rid of the pawn, like so. And after rook d7, king h6, king g3, c4 and knight f2, he even dodged the very awkward mate that would arise after a4. Knight g4, king h5, rook d5, g5, and rook d6, where black's king is completely out of place. Oh, instead he preempted that by playing king g5, but this drops his final pawn, after which he gave Alekhine the benefit of the doubt that he would be able to win from this position, a piece up.
Yep, so this wraps it up for Alekhine's first great win over a notable chess master, the great theorist Nimzowitsch. We can see that here he's just a piece down with no play whatsoever. So that's game after either 48 or 46 moves, depending on who you choose to believe.